Okay, the recording has now started. Welcome everybody. This is our 5th live call. I think a first live call for a number of you. Welcome to everyone. And today we'll be hearing from everyone as we all say hello. And then we'd like to hear anything you want to share with us from modules 4 and 5, either any artwork or song and dance or anything that you want to share from the networking that you've done in Module 5 so far. If you've gotten a chance to start that module, it's all about bioregionalism and working with people in your locale to learn about its history and to make connections with people you can work with and play with going forward to build a better world. So we wanted to hear from you anything that's inspired you or jumped out at you from these last couple of modules. So let's just start by taking a minute to sense into where we're at right now. And when we say hello, so I invite everyone to share your name and where you are at the moment and something you are sensing about the location where you are. So something with one of your 5 senses. So something you can see, hear, smell, feel, taste about the location where you are right now. Okay, so take just about 20 seconds to do that sensing, and then I will invite someone to share, and they will invite the next person. Okay, so sensing where you are. All right, ready or not, here we go. I noticed how warm the air feels on my skin in this wood-heated house. I'm Allison. I'm in Missouri in the middle of Turtle Island, also known as the United States of America. And it's snowy outside, and I was noticing how toasty the air feels on the skin on my face and how toasty my toes are on the wood-heated stovepipe thing that goes through the cob wall beneath my feet. And I pass the microphone to Mighty Bites, also known as Tim.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Tim. I'm in Chicago, so not too far from Allison. It's 11 a.m. here as well. And I am in my home office today, and I was out because in the U.S. last week it was Thanksgiving, and so I was out for the holiday week, and I'm noticing that my office needs a good cleaning. And I will pass to Jenny since she's right next to me in my grid of people here.
Hello, I'm Jenny. I'm in Lanzarote, Spain. I'm by the sea because I didn't make it home in time for the call. So my biggest sense is the sound of the ocean, which is beautiful and calming and my favorite place to be. So yeah, I'm just grateful that I get to experience this daily and today share it with you guys. And I will pass to Teres.
Yeah, I'm Therese. I'm right now still in Phoenix for the next 2 weeks still. And I'm sensing actually that it's getting cooler here in the desert. So I'll just grab my jacket to be warm for the rest of the meeting. And I will pass on to Laura.
I'm Laura and I'm in Germany right now. And I'm smelling some banana bread, which is baking right now in the oven. And I'm gonna pass to Sarah.
I'm Sarah. I'm in Barcelona in Spain now, where I've just moved, and I'm noticing mostly that it's so much warmer than New York, which was where I was living before. Usually in November it would be snowing, as Alison said, probably similar to where you are. And I've been sitting out working on the terrace pretty much all day, which is amazing. But I'm also noticing that it's colder inside than it was in New York because people don't usually have heating here, which is something I didn't know until I moved here. And I'll pass it to Jenny smiling. And I'll pass it to Victoria.
Hi, I'm calling from Aberdeen, UK, 5 p.m. Yeah, I'm glad I made this call last time. And since the first time I think I managed to attend, we moved to a new flat, and I hope finally we sorted out the internet. So hopefully it is working during this call. Yeah, it is 21 degrees in the flat and around 7 degrees outside, getting chilly, but not snowing in Aberdeen, although I think some parts of Scotland it is already snowing, so I'm not missing it too much yet. And I am passing it to Keith.
Hello, this is Keith. And I'm in Berlin right now. The weather is about 1 degree centigrade outside, or 33 degrees Fahrenheit. And right in front of me, I'm looking at flowers that we brought in from the balcony last week. Among them, azaleas and snapdragons that are blooming. And I'm hearing the patter of cold rainfall on the windowsill. And that's the way that Berlin is this evening. And let's see, I will pass it to anyone. I don't see someone who hasn't yet. Oh yes, I'll pass it to Deborah.
Hi everyone, sorry I was a couple of minutes late. Well, I'm sitting in my kind of the home office, little corner of my bedroom here, and I'm just having one of my first citrus fruits of the winter, which has come from Spain, and I'm really enjoying the smell, which reminds me of the winter holidays. And I guess what's with me most tonight is that my mother just arrived 1 hour ago to move to this town. We were both living in Scotland for many years. I moved here 1 year ago, and she just arrived 1 hour ago, and I took her to her new house, which I found for her, which she hadn't even seen yet, except on video. And so I just spent the last hour with my mother at her new house, which was so exciting. And tomorrow all the trucks arrive with her stuff and we unpack. So I'm just feeling really excited and happy that she's here safely, and she's going to be living 2 miles from me. Did everyone? No, Kathy was waving. Kathy, are you next, maybe? Yeah.
Have I got this right? My first time here, yeah? Hi everyone, I'm Kathy. I live in North Carolina, in a sort of almost in the forest. And this morning I was doing Tai Chi in the forest. And luckily it wasn't too cold because I've got my hat and gloves. But it was beautiful. But this time of the year for me is always the feeling of everything withering and drying and dying, and it's not my best time of the year, but looking forward to new things with winter and then spring. But I'm quite happy, I'm not morbid or anything, that's just how I see autumn. And it's really nice to be here and to sort of see everybody, and I love the artwork behind Keith, and I love the sea behind, can't remember who it was, Jenny, was it? Anyway, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
So how about raise your hand and wave at Kathy if you haven't gone yet. And Kathy, you get to pick the next speaker from among those waving.
Sorry, so is that you, Daria? Hi, sorry.
Hi, everyone. I am in our main house at the quarry farm on Salt Spring Island on the west coast of Canada. It's a wet day. We've had lots of rain and lots of water, so I'm very aware of the fact that we live in 2 watersheds and in the temperate rainforest. I don't mind the rain. I quite like it. My feet are touching the concrete floor, which is really cold because it's a passive solar home, and usually if it's sunny, it will heat the floor and the floor will feel warm, but we don't use a lot of the radiant heat in the floor. So when I woke up this morning, I put shoes on and I'm sipping my first sip of coffee. Thank you.
Okay, so wave your hand at Daria if you haven't
Yeah,
done.
I pass to Taylor.
Yeah.
Thanks, Daria. I'm currently in Nepal, and I'm I'm in my little apartment, which is the only place with a light on still in my village. It's about 11 o'clock at night here, so I can sense that no one is awake, and it's kind of nice to be still. And this time of year is really beautiful because I've never been here when it hasn't been a rice harvest, but right now all the mustard seeds are basically the yellow flowers are blooming, and so there's just like endless fields of golden flowers, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So thank you.
And I think Ade, you haven't gone, right? Let's hear from you.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Ade, and I'm from France. I'm in Grenoble at the moment. I actually got back just this morning after a night bus and everything. We've been traveling for the last 10 days, so it's nice to arrive and relax and rest. Right now, I'm enjoying some tea. It's some beautiful herbal tea with a lot of Christmassy spices. And over the week, we were in Strasbourg for the Christmas markets and everything. And I got to taste and smell a lot of spices like that, cinnamon, honey-like things. So it just reminds me of that. It really is. It reminds me of Christmas, so the spices. So I'm getting excited now that is coming.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say one thing. I'm from Grenoble, which is
yes. I know, it's amazing.
Just wanted to say that. Bye.
Great. And I wanted to add that Martina wrote me and said she's not going to be able to make the call. She's leaving for Senegal in the morning. And wow. She said, please bring my greetings into the live call today. I send a big hug to everybody and hope our paths will cross again and again. It has been a pleasure and big inspiration. And her email was asking about how to stay in touch with all of you. So I know that she's really appreciating every one of you on the course. All right. I noticed something interesting when Deborah was sharing that I would love to ask you about. Deborah, would you mind showing us that orange again and maybe telling us about the smell, or maybe even taking a little bite of it?
I already ate it. I can show you the peel.
Yeah. No, notice what happens.
Amazing.
Everyone close your mouth and notice what happens when Deborah shows you the orange peel. Did anyone notice anything happen in their mouth? Unmute and tell me if you noticed anything.
You start salivating like you want to eat it.
Yeah, that happened to me. Raise your hand if that happened for you when you saw Deborah with the orange. Yeah, isn't that funny? Like, I think that's almost magical that something like physiological happens in my body when I'm looking at something on a screen that someone is doing on the other side of the planet. Like, how connected are we, you know? It's just amazing to me. And Jenny, when I see those waves crashing behind you, like somehow it brings me this like peaceful warmth in my chest. I can't explain it, just seeing those waves. Does anything like that happen for other people seeing the waves? Anyone else want to share what happens in there, what they can sense going on when they see those waves? Keith?
Yes, I'm taken back to my first Christmas in Europe that I spent in the Canary Islands, and the waves were very much like that, and the rocks were very much like that, and I dared to go swimming on Christmas Day, and that was a very special experience for me. Then seeing these waves and the light on the waves brings it all back to me.
And what can you sense in your body?
I sense just an excitement of this big space, the big space by the seashore. I grew up near a big shore, and for me, having this kind of open feeling of a seashore and an infinite expanse to look out on always makes me paradoxically feel at home.
Yeah, I have that sense of opening as well. Thank you. Kathy?
For me, the sea and the continuous rhythm of the waves is just continuity. It's that feeling that life just goes on and on and on, and there's just that wonderful constancy. And is that a word, constancy? You know what I mean? Like the continuity. It's just and connection, and it's there, and it's been there, and yeah, it's mesmerizing.
Right. So when you mesmerized, okay. Yeah, so I'm looking for, like, when you have that sense of the continuity, what happens in your physical body? Like, do you notice any change in your physical experience of the world?
I think it's just very calming, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of hopeful, I suppose, in a way, that life goes on. I seem to be very into that at the moment. Life does go on.
Yeah, so that
we recycle.
Some calmness. Yeah, so I'm asking these questions because often we tend to stay in our heads a lot, and a lot of what I've experienced for me in terms of bioregionalism and looking at where I live and trying to eat more locally, like sometimes it's very heady, like trying to find organizations to work with or people I can meet and get to know and make connections with. But for me, the most powerful ways to really get deeply local happen when I'm walking around our land and I'm just like, my pores are all open and I'm using all my senses to connect with what's happening. And just the way when Deborah was eating that orange, a lot of us felt the saliva in our mouth. And when we look at those waves, we have this feeling sometimes of an opening or a peacefulness in us. Like, we can take in messages from our surroundings just as we can from images or other people. And it actually makes physiological changes in our bodies that we can detect if we're really alert and awake. And so I'm asking these questions that might be hard to answer because we're used to talking about the world in very verbal terms and thinking with our brains more than sensing with our senses or with our hearts. And so just wanted to encourage people, when you're trying to get more localized or glocalized and build those connections with others, other humans and other creatures and with nature, to be aware that your senses are a really great messaging apparatus to receive news from the surroundings, like, oh, hey, this is working. This plant loved to be taken care of the way I did. Or, oh, I'm getting these weird vibrations from this place where I dug a hole. Maybe I won't plant the tree here or something. You know, you really can get those kinds of senses from your surroundings if you can tune into them. So thanks for rolling with me on that little experiment. Anybody have a question or comment before we move on? Daria?
Yeah, I wanted to share, when you mentioned about the senses, it really brought back to me my experience of about a year ago. I had a concussion from a car accident, and I couldn't be inside and I couldn't use my brain very much, but I loved being outside. And I think most of that healing process came from being outside. It's almost like I was forced to block my mind because it wasn't functioning. And it allowed for so much more expression of my own being through other channels that are normally toned down because the brain is so powerful.
Yeah, right. The brain is really powerful. And we also get a lot of messages from society. I don't know where you grew up, if this happened for you, but my school teachers gave me a lot of approval when I used my brain a lot. And I was never given any education in how to use my senses to learn. So yeah, there's a lot to overcome there. Great, thanks, Daria. I have a hard time being grateful for an accident like that, but I am grateful for the wealth of learning that you took from it. So now I want to invite people to share anything they brought to the call, whether it's an insight about bioregionalism or your location, or something you learned from an elder where you live, or maybe it's a piece of artwork that inspires you. Yeah, so just wanted to open up the call for those sharings, and then after that we'll hear and hopefully answer any questions that you have about the module or about the course. Who would like to start? Everyone's going and getting their things. I can start if no one else is burning to start. Oh, Therese has one. Go ahead, Therese, unmute yourself and tell us about that.
So unfortunately, I'm not that far with the next module, so I was more in the art, still in module 4. And I think, as I wrote at some point, I recently started to take pens, colorful pens in my hand, although this is not very colorful, but somehow this just came out of me. It's Born to Grow, written in a tree. And thank you. And yeah, this was just very empowering to see what happens if you just dare to start without letting your prejudices or self-oppression have yourself let this be in your way. And recently, also before I moved to the US, I got a letter from a friend. Post for her is just waiting in my room, not for her. And she sent me her first zine, so a magazine, short form, which was very inspiring as well. And as in my private life, some things are going on in my relationship. I thought maybe a small zine is also the way it's kind of an outlet for myself. So I called this Phoenix Yogi Tea Diary, because as you might know, the yogi teas, they always have messages inside. So on each page, you have a message. And for me, I put them kind of in a chronological order. So while the first page says, you must have self-respect, only then you can respect somebody else. So the whole book basically goes through a journey and ends with happiness is actually an art of living, which is in us. And this was actually inspired by this rather tough time in my relationship with my partner not being fine and struggling with low self-esteem. And yeah, so this was kind of my way to deal with this. And yeah. And apart from this, I'm really into bookmaking in general. So a friend here just taught me how to make a Coptic stitch and bookbinding. So yeah. And I think, I don't know if you hear my voice shivering, so I'm kind of showing this rather very therapeutic art pieces. Yeah, that's something with me. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, so who would like to go next? Victoria, you're unmuted. Would you like to go?
Sorry, I just, my computer just restarted, so we're supposed to get some artwork that we have done last week or what we are doing.
Oh, I thought you had unmuted yourself because you wanted to share something with the group. We're just talking about anything that has inspired us from this module in terms of our connections with our place or our elders or their stories, or also from the last module, any piece of art that you enjoy. And it looks like you have a very creative endeavor going on right now in your lab.
Yeah, I think someone is bringing some artwork through. Yeah. He's bringing some artwork that we made last week. Okay. I'm just finding out about some connections nearby, which I'm interested. I probably go one of the courses on sustainable design next month down in Glasgow. So that's not too bad.
Oh, an owl. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, about elders, to be honest, because we just moved here, I'm not really knowing anybody here over 70. I think that was the requirement. So I probably missed that part. Yeah, I'm trying to map out my opportunities at the moment.
Yeah. And just to be clear, everyone, it looks like there are a lot of people on the call, which is wonderful. And if we each share for 5 or 6 minutes, we won't even finish before the end of the call. So just asking people to spend maybe 1 minute sharing something with everyone. Who would like to go next? Daria.
I just want to show you, I'm very excited about this new idea that I had about a few weeks ago. I was at the bakery in town, and my good friend Wheat, who's Dutch, that I worked with in the gardens of a fancy hotel here on Salt Spring, approached me. She said, I want to quit my job. Can you hear me still? Yeah. And she said, I want to quit my job, but I don't really know if I'd like to work with you, but I don't really know if you can pay me. So we sat down about 2 hours at the bakery, and we came up with this plan of doing a veggie box for the neighborhood where the farm is. We're at the low bottom of a hill. So I don't know if you can see, that's the hill. And over the top of that hill, there's view homes that look down the San Juan Islands in the States. They're very fancy homes. And I thought, wouldn't it be great? They're kind of retired professionals. That's the type of community up there. But I thought, wouldn't it be great if they had this as their farm? And we grew veggies for them. And then we sat down and we did all the calculations. We came up with 25 boxes of what she needs to make a living, to pay her mortgage. And, you know, she needs to work for her livelihood and her family. And so we started, and now we have like a whole logo, and we are building the boxes, and we're going to launch the project next week. And we started, I don't know if you can see, but we started, let's see if I can go to, so there's about half an acre of a field outside of the house. And I don't know if you can see down there. Can you see there's some veggie beds down there by the yellow coop? Maybe I'll raise it a little bit.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, so it's starting, and we staked all the plots. And anyway, I feel it's such a great project, and it just happened just like that. So there's good momentum, and I just, now that we figured out we're gonna do it, everybody's so energized and everybody's so excited, and it just happened from a random encounter.
That's great. And it sounds like you went through that creative process really quickly, from assimilation to completion.
Yeah, we had to really speed up the assimilation part. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, thank you. Who'd like to go next? Just raise your hand and unmute. Ade.
Yes, thank you. Let's see if I can share my screen so I can show you what I wanted. Hang on. Yeah. Share screen. Can you guys see? If you can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. Cool. It's this is a shared collaborative mandala. It was an idea of my friends. I spent with 3 of us, and we're very good friends for a few years now. And she wanted to do something creative, and she just came up with this idea of having each like a space to do like one of the round spaces to do like on our own, and then for the mandala, and then we glued them all together, and it's making this beautiful piece of art. Like it's it was really special for me to do this, because it's not often that you but you do something like that when you spend time with your friends. I mean, at least it was not for me. Like, we would often either like cook something together or just chat for hours, but it felt very different, and it required some focus. We had to be quite calm. It was just a different energy, and all of a sudden there was this outcome that was there. And I like the fact that every time I'll go to my friend's place, it will be there on the wall. We'll be able to see it and remember how we felt at the time and everything. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Very cool. Thank you. All right, who's next? Just wave at us and unmute. Okay, Kathy.
I thought I'd share the book that Mum and I did when we were living in Malaysia, mainly because it's sort of, we've been here just over 2 years, and it went in a cupboard and it's been forgotten about. And I started thinking about it when we did the last module. And it just seems sort of sad because it went in the cupboard and then disappeared. Anyway, so it's a book called Magical Malaysia. Mum illustrated it. And it's, I don't know what sort of, I just suddenly felt incredibly inspired when we were living there to write about all the things. Malaysia is such an amazing hot pot of culture and foods and wildlife and rainforests and jungle, and unfortunately a lot of other palm oil and stuff like that. But I just wanted to focus on all the nice things there, and also sort of have something that Mum and I had done together, a collaborative project that hopefully will be handed on down to all the children and grandchildren and beyond. And also hopefully to open people's eyes, because I felt so many people were living in this country that had so much to offer but weren't really participating in anything beyond their own, what they know. You know, they weren't trying new things, mixing with other cultures, going out to see the wildlife, things like that. So it was really fun doing it, and we had a lovely celebration when we finished. And then I've sold a few, but not a lot, but that, I don't know, it wasn't really what it was all about. So it was just nice.
Love that. That was connecting your family with the place where you were very powerfully. Okay, who's next? Oh, me, I'll go next. Oh, Taylor, did you want to go ahead? Go ahead.
So I recently have had a number of really empowering women surrounding me, just by, I don't believe in happenstance, but for the kind of celebration of them, I actually found this old window and I painted it. And so I feel like you can probably see it, but it's kind of like an ode to all of these women who have come into my life and have just really allowed me to embrace my like femininity, and like how empowering it can be to kind of embrace like softness instead of, you know, I work in a very like male dominated field. And so sometimes you just need to like dance and sing and like share sacred medicines and lay in the flowers and just be. And so yeah, that softness kind of came through in this painting. But thanks.
Nice. Okay, I'll go. Taylor mentioned singing, so that was my cue. So I put the words in the chat. This is a song that I learned the words to from someone who's a shamanic leader, guide, and he learned it from I think Abenaki elder, a Native American man. I was researching where it came from, and I also found it in the Quran, these exact words. So it seems like it's owned by all of humanity. So I feel like I can share it with you. And in fact, we changed the tune of it a little bit because we wanted a new circle song for our community. We have a custom in our culture of singing a lot. And so we sing when we circle up for a potluck dinner, and we sing every week at our song circle. These kinds of songs that you don't need a lyric sheet for or a music sheet, and we just learn from each other with our voices. So I'm going to sing it for you, and then I invite you to all sing it together, and then whoever's watching the recording later will have a really funny experience of it jumping around to all of your faces, and it'll sound really funny.
Alison, I didn't see the lyrics in the chat. Did you put it there?
I did. Does anyone else see them? They're at the very top of the chat. Oh, maybe it's because I did it before the chat, before the call started. Okay, do you see it now? It says, we give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. We repeat that 3 times. And then we give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks. And there's also a songwriter out in the Pacific Northwest who made it into a song as well. So I'll sing it for you. We give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. We give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. We give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks. It's pretty simple. I bet you can sing it without even practicing. So go ahead and unmute yourselves, everybody. And we're just gonna sing it all together.
I'm stressed.
All right, it's gonna sound really funny. Keith, have you got someone there who you're gonna sing it with, Keith? No, he's not.
He's running away.
It starts on this. We, that's our starting note. We give thanks like that. 2, 3. We give thanks for unknown
Start over. Start over.
Start over?
Yeah, just start over.
Oh my God, the latency is crazy.
Okay, let's try it again. 2, 3. We give thanks for unknown blessings already. We give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. Give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. We give thanks.
Oh my God, that was cacophonous.
All right, that recording is going to be really fun.
How did we do that from around the world? I can't believe the time delay must be crazy.
Oh, it was insane.
Call me crazy. All right, who's next?
I could say something just because I put this picture up.
Okay.
I'll be quick. There's lots of things I'd love to say, but when you mentioned elders, I just wanted to honour my mum again because she was very actively on an eldering journey the last 7 or 8 years. And when she left Scotland last week, well, she arrived today, but when she left last week, she had a leaving party, and a lot of people came who she's been mentoring the last few years and has been support for. And she's really taken this role on of being an elder, and I know they'll really miss her, and they wrote her this amazing poem, which I thought about sharing with you, but I think it's too much about her personality and it wouldn't be so kind of funny and cute to people that didn't know her. But anyway, she's the lady with the purple hair in the picture in the chat, and she's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing how many people she adopts in our new area. Yeah, so I wanted to share that. And a piece of art that I wanted, well, maybe I'll share this one. So, last year we had a winter retreat, so I really love to do a little retreat at the dark time of year, and we did some artwork during that, and this was really fun because in the middle I was trying to do a representation of, I guess, my hopes for the year and how I was feeling, and I realized this smudge I made in the middle was like a whale, and I was thinking how nice to have something with all this kind of gentle power that's so peaceful and communicative in the middle of this image. It just kind of emerged as this perfect whale, and I didn't realize till after I looked at it. So I'm looking forward to having 3 or 4 days in between Christmas and New Year to just go into retreat again with some community members and kind of dream about the next year and plant seeds for the next year, and probably do quite a lot of art and collaging during that time. So I I really want to, I've only done that the last 2 years, and I really want to recommend that as a practice. If you can make some retreat time at this time of year, it's really special, and I think helps. This has supported me the whole year, some of the results of the retreat we did last year.
Great, thanks. Just notice the time. Raise your hand if you still want to go. If you still haven't gone, raise your hand. So, oh, okay. All right, yeah. Go ahead, Jenny, and then Laura. Welcome, Laura.
I just really quickly want to share the sunset because it's too ridiculously beautiful. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to share it with and be more.
Thank you.
So anyway.
Where are you, Jenny?
I'm in Lanzarote on the Canary Islands.
Oh, beautiful. Oh.
Great. Laura?
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear me because my internet is a bit bad. Okay. Well, I got really inspired by the individual activity last module about our journey so far in this course. And yeah, I did a drawing. Yeah, so I used this this Gaia symbol and painted it red, the background, so it's like the social design. And here's me having one piece of the whole puzzle. So I don't know, it might mean that I'm taking one piece from this journey and what I'm going to use in my life, or me as one puzzle piece in this group. And I really like the activity because it wasn't about writing something. It's more like what comes from the heart and goes directly to the paper without thinking too much.
Great. You could probably, you could probably sell that to Gaia Education for a new logo or something. Interested, Gio?
Maybe.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Laura. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, I don't mean to commercialize it. It's beautiful. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That was really fun seeing all those things. Does anyone have any questions about the module that they would like to ask of the group? Keith?
This isn't really a question. It's more of a concern about the time. I live in Berlin. I'm not German. I don't really know too many people here. Whether I can find a good person to interview before the next week is over and the module is over, I don't know. I don't know if I can. So I would ask if there's some alternative thing that we could do during this time, or if it's better to extend the time if it's not possible to meet someone good during this time.
Looks like Kathy has a response.
Keith, I'm sort of a little bit in the same situation, but I've emailed it to my mum, who lives in Australia, and I've asked her to talk about how it was for her growing up in London when she was a child. She's 87 now. Maybe, is there a relative like that you could perhaps? Maybe it's not relevant because it's not the same bioregion, but...
all of my parents and older relatives have passed on, but I think the idea of doing it someone who's not actually here in this same place, it could be a possibility. Yeah. One thing I like about this region, I'm from Chicago, like Tim, and the landscape here is full of small lakes, like the landscape north of Chicago. So it's a similar kind of bioregion, even if it's separated by an ocean. So I might think of one of my older friends back in Illinois. Thanks for the idea.
I think that would be totally appropriate. It doesn't have to be where you're physically located right now. It's more about just getting in touch with, you know, the elders' stories of place, of rootedness in place. Also, if you would like to have some extra time, I'm happy to grant you an extension if you want to, you know, find out about where you are in Berlin from someone there. I think it's up to you.
I'll think about that during the next, over the weekend, and see what I can do.
Okay. Therese?
Alternately, I was going to suggest also, Keith, it might be also, I don't know if Allison will agree with this, but maybe you can interview yourself.
Well, for the sake of this course, I'm pretending not to be an elder, but in fact, someone else might consider me to be an elder. So this could be fun too. Yeah. Thanks, Gio.
Therese?
Yeah. My question is, how long do we have access to the social dimension? Because somewhere I think I read or heard that's only like for a month longer, but what happens then? Like, for how long do we have access to all our reflections and all the input?
Yeah, I think it's till the ecological dimension starts. Is that right, Gio, in January?
Yeah, we leave it open a little bit longer, but not forever. I mean, you will have access to the content, you know, the ebook and the PDF. You will have access for that until the design studio. But the all the forums and all that other stuff kind of closes down once the next dimension begins. So if there is something there that you would like to save, I would suggest, you know, downloading it or copying it and then saving it.
Yeah, you can always download the PDFs. And yeah, as Gio said, just the forums won't be accessible later. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And bye, everyone. I have to leave, unfortunately. I appreciate everyone and everything that happened. Just
bye.
Thank you, Therese. Bye.
Bye. Therese, are you doing the next one?
I would love to know who all is doing the next one. I know I am.
Raise your hand if you're doing the ecological dimension.
Sweet.
All right, so you'll see each other there when you're done with this one after the solstice break. Great. Bye, Therese. Any other questions about Module 5? Laura, did you have a question? Or were you saying goodbye?
Yeah. So we have time to finish it until the 6th?
Right. So,
because I got a bit confused because it's more than a week and...
Right, so Module 5 ends on the 3rd. So, so we request that you either complete all of your stuff on Module 5 by December 3rd or get an extension if you need one from Deborah or me. And then a few more days, you have a few more days to interact with each other on the forums, post your reflections there, share them with each other, you know, do any remaining work that you wanted to on the individual or group assignments. So you have the rest of that week, that first week of December, to do that work. And then the social dimension formally ends on December 7th, which is a Friday. But as Giovanni said, the forums will be open for the next couple of weeks after that. So you're free to do things there, but Deborah and I are not going to be, you know, responding or interacting anymore after the 7th when we finish our part of the work.
Okay, thank you.
Gio, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, the only exception to that might be if somebody has extenuating circumstance and they need a little more time, that you have to work that out with your facilitator, Debbie or Allison. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jenny?
So once we're done on social dimension, we won't be working with neither you or Deborah anymore.
Right, you have different facilitators for each dimension. Yeah, but you've got our emails. I mean, Debs can speak for herself, but you have my email. It's right there on the site, and every single one of you, including those of you watching this later in the recording, are welcome to contact me anytime with questions or just thoughts or observations, anything at all from your eco-village or eco-design journey.
That's it. Thank you so much.
I'd love to hear updates from you all.
Same here. I'd love to stay in contact with you, and please feel free to email me, and I can offer extensions for probably a week afterwards, and then I'm going to take a nice big Christmas and solstice holiday break. So do let me know if you need an extension. I can manage a few days, but I'm going to have a cut-off at some point.
Similar for me, December, I'm going to be taking a break as well to be with family. So so I can give extensions if needed a little bit into that period. But please remember that we want to take a break too after we've read and commented on your reflections. All right.
And I'll be back to coordinate the ecological dimension. So you'll see me again, as well as other facilitators.
Yeah, all the facilitators are really excellent. Oh, and one other thing about the conclusion of the module and the whole social dimension, and Giovanni will post an announcement about this later, is that we do want your feedback on how the course has gone for you. We really do use this feedback to improve the course each year. So there's a place at the bottom of the homepage where you can fill out that survey, and please do. We really appreciate it. Keith?
I have a question about this. Whenever I log in, I see a kind of a wheel with a certain percentage that is complete, right?
Yeah, Keith, I'm not, that's a new feature that Moodle has put up. So I'm not 100% familiar with it, but I've seen it also. And it looks to me like that just gives you a little tracking of how much of the required material you have done.
The thing is that if it says 15%, I don't know whether that 15% is in relationship to 20% or 100%, or I don't really know how to make sense of it. So so I'm assuming that Allison got everything that I sent and posted. But there isn't, I don't think that there's any automatic mechanism to let us know if we, for example, during the first module, I thought that I had posted my reflection, but there was one more click that I had to make because it was submitted, but it wasn't posted or something like this. And that meant that I don't know whether Allison got it the first time or if she only got it the second time. So I think all of us, as we're getting close to the end of the module, the whole sequence here, we want to make sure that if something's not complete, we know that.
I'm with you on that completely.
Yeah. One way, I'm going to do a little investigation about this, and I will post an answer to that, Keith. That's a very good question, and I'm sorry I don't have a clear answer. But one thing I can tell you is that at the bottom of the classroom, at the very bottom, there's a place to download a certificate of a letter of accomplishment is what it's called for the social design. When you go there, there are certain requirements. If you have met those requirements, you can download the certificate. But if you have not met those requirements, it will tell you what's missing. So that's a way to kind of track what might be missing. I would, for the moment, ignore the little wheel with the percentage because I'm not very clear what that really means. But I will find out and post it in the announcements.
Great. And Keith, and everyone, I want you to know that I'll be checking next week when Module 5 ends on Monday. I'll be checking to make sure everyone's submitted, all of my students have submitted all of their assignments. Sorry about that. And I will let you know if I haven't gotten something from you that I should have gotten within a couple of days after the module ends. Kathy?
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for your question. Kathy?
I just wanted to know how much permaculture is in the ecological module.
The ecological module is heavily based on permaculture training and principles, but there is a little bit more than that as well, because the ecological module pretends to look at like global development, more like outside of our communities. Permaculture tends to focus more on the local and perhaps regional, but we want to also see what can we do to shift the ecological design on a larger scale. So even though there is a lot of permaculture there, I think you will see also permaculture plus.
Okay, so do you think one should do, I know you mentioned, Alison, in one of the previous videos that you'd just done a permaculture course. Would you recommend doing that, augmenting with an actual PDC?
Well, I haven't actually taken the ecological dimension, so I don't know all of what's in that. But I would always recommend taking a PDC if you are interested in permaculture. It's really a valuable experience. I took an introduction to permaculture many years ago, probably 15 years ago, and was able with that and with my own reading to get started on, my observations and implementation. But when I took the PDC, it all got deepened a lot. My understanding of permaculture and my ability to practice it got much stronger. So I really recommend that. Also, if it's a good course, you'll have a lot of fun.
There is of course a big difference between a face-to-face course and an online course. So the online course is going to give you more theory and more research-based content, whereas a face-to-face, you would actually put your hands in the mud, so to speak.
Okay, any other questions? We've got a few minutes left. Kathy?
Is there any way that we will connect or can connect? Can we do, maybe people submit their emails or something if they want to do a network for future use?
Yeah, you should be able to see everyone's emails if you click on participants in the upper left. Were you looking for something like a document with everyone's emails in it?
Yeah.
Kathy, unfortunately, we can't share that information because of the data protection regulations. But in the classroom, as Alison was saying, if you click on participants, then because you're in the classroom, you will see everybody's name and I think also their email address, right, Alison? I'm not sure, but I think you can.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That's a way to access it, but we can't give it to you. We will be breaking some regulations there.
No, that's fine. Okay, thanks. I'd missed that.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any last questions? Victoria?
There is that group exercise that we could do a village designer network. So I would be interested in doing that, but I'm not quite sure how to group up. So shall we just post in the module and then ask again each other like who would like to join, or what would you recommend?
Yeah, just post a message there in the forum saying that you want to do that with someone and inviting people to join you. And then if someone wants to join you, they can just reply and you can set up a way to get in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I already posted in the forum if anyone's interested in joining.
Oh, thank you for doing that. And that would be a self-managing process, because Gaia Education doesn't have really the capacity to create a group and follow it and all that sort of thing. But students often want to be connected. So we encourage that, but we don't manage it.
Okay, well, I think we're about at time. So I don't have a special closing for us today. Debs, do you have one?
Gio said he might have something in his email earlier, but maybe.
He did.
You asked for it.
How about it?
I do enjoy writing songs, and I have this one that I've been writing kind of to synthesize a bit of Gaia Education's experience, and it may be relevant. I don't know how it'll be. I hope you like it, but here it goes. I have clear and cool my head. I've aligned my soul with yours. I'm focused and aware, and I'm in and out of here. And I'm sitting on the floor where I'm closer to the earth, breathing air of precious joys emanating from below. Where I'm looking to the east, and I'm looking to the west, and I'm flying with the geese, and I'm reaching for the rest. I am floating on the water, framed by lotus flower blooms, knowing what I have to know, and I'm sharing it with you. As we tell a vision to the world and surround ourselves with love. We tell a vision to the world, hear the wisdom of the earth. And the rest you probably know. Maybe you can help me write a lyric, a little word or two, you know, it would help. And I will sing it next time for you.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
It's been so lovely getting to know you all. Thank you for sharing so beautifully and all your reflections.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to both of you, Alison and Deborah.
Thank you, everyone. It's been hugely enriching for me.
And me too. I really enjoyed this group. Thank you all. And see you online. Stay connected. Some of you will see you again in the ecological dimension. Take care of yourselves. Love each other.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.
Journey
Thanks,
well.
Deborah and Alison, once again.
How do we stop?
Oh, getting fewer and fewer. Don't go!